You want to know one thing I learned when making this video? If you're ever getting pushed and you want to fake out the person who's chasing you, just throw a decoy grenade on a launch pad and they'll think you've flown away. Check this out, watch what happens. If you were a noob, you probably would have just gotten beamed out of the sky, so today we're covering 15 mistakes only noobs make and some pro tips on how you could get better. Okay, so me and Sam, being the king of noobs, decided to switch up the way a tips and tricks video works, and it's kind of like the exact opposite, where we instead show where you noobs go wrong and how you could fix that. We appreciate a like and subscribe if you even learned one tiny little fact here, but let's start off with the upgrade trick. The upgrade benches around the map, especially now that they're items, are especially helpful to both casual and competitive players in Fortnite. These things can take you from having unlucky loot to dominating the battleground in minutes, but there's a slight problem. They take forever to upgrade a gun.
Honestly, us noobs sometimes forget completely that you can upgrade your weapons in the first place, but for those of us that do remember, we spend all of our time trying to make a purple gun into a gold gun. It takes literally forever. By the time we're almost done, we've usually been sniped and it's on to the next match.
Check out how a pro would do it. You throw down your upgrade bench, then whip out a gray weapon. Once you start upgrading the gray weapon, just quickly switch over to your purple gun at the very last second, and it just upgrades to gold instead. It's a super useful trick that might just save your life if the storm's moving very fast. The decoy launchpad trick. Launchpads can be the best thing that ever happened to you and also be your absolute doom. These things can save lives and also end them pretty quickly, which is why you need to learn how to master them.
Usually a casual player will just get shot at by a squad and panic. Then they'll throw their launch pad down and try to escape in the nick of time. But it never really works like that. Either they follow you or you just get absolutely beamed out of the sky.
But pros take this into consideration, of course. So instead, while being chased by a squad, the pro will place down their launch pad as usual, but also pair it with another underrated item, the decoy grenade, obviously. You can now use this thing as bait by throwing decoys onto your launch pad. The people pushing you will then focus on the decoy, and you can go pick up your teammates or maybe even get a surprise elimination on them. The shockwave launcher trick. The shockwave launcher coming to Fortnite this season was probably one of the best things Epic has done in ages. You gotta admit, it's one of the better additions in the entirety of Chapter 2. How good the shockwave launcher is actually depends on who's using it, and this is where the noobs come in.
When we get our hands on a shockwave launcher, all we do is launch ourselves all over the place and tend to just crash into trees or something else. Sometimes we even somehow mess that up and find a way to take fall damage. It's just bad.
But that's not what a pro would do. Trust me when I say. They use a shockwave grenade for way more stuff too, like throwing enemies out of the final circle for an easy victory, or using the shockwave to fling themselves onto an enemy's box for a guaranteed wall replacement. You do this by placing 3 tiles away from the enemy's box, shoot a shockwave at the wall, and you'll fly back, breaking and replacing their builds at the same time, resulting in an easy elimination. Avoiding Marauders trick. Okay, I think we could all agree here, the Marauders always seem to pick the worst time to show up. You could be in like a super intense fight, and in case man-eating sharks weren't enough, these guys will just crash land wherever they please, and all of a sudden you're getting sandwiched by like 5 guys. And no, not the kind of 5-guy sandwich you want.
So not only do the Marauders never give up, but they practically have aimbot. So when us noobs are facing them, we don't really stand a chance, especially if we don't have the right amount of gear. We are never prepared.
But pros don't need to be prepared to fight off the Marauders, because here's something not a lot of people know about. Sure, the Marauders do act like real people with them building and dancing when no one's watching, but this also means they actually can't see when you go into a bush. Try it. Simply hide in a bush and they'll leave you alone. Saves you the time and energy of dealing with them, especially in sticky situations like when you're on low health or out of ammo. The accurate grenade throwing trick. If you got yourself a stack of grenades and hear an enemy or squad in the distance, it's pretty easy to get excited at the idea of wiping out an entire squad.
Noobs will get super excited and just spam every last one of them in the direction of the enemy without much thought being put into it. Because of this, they'll probably miss more than half of them and waste the opportunity completely.
And this is where the pros come in. They'll use the ping button to see the exact distance between them and the enemies. Then they'll throw the grenade and time it perfectly so they all explode directly on impact, and they're super accurate. In fact, it was actually this trick that got grenades removed from Arena in the first place, but they're back now, so go crazy. The trick to doing this is to ping the enemies one by one and then go about 60 meters away. Now, throw the grenades towards the top of your ping mark and they should explode on impact every single time with almost practically no error. The destroying CHOPPAS trick. As you know, you can't redeploy your glider when jumping from a choppa, so if you're not above water, that thing is a flying death trap. I mean, most people know this. Choppas are pretty much a huge target in the sky.
Usually, us noobs will just blind fire all of our ammo into a choppa flying by, hoping to get some damage or even a kill. Most of the time, though, we miss half the shots and won't even come close to bringing the choppa down.
But pros actually know a trick to take down choppas insanely fast without wasting all the ammo in the process. If you're good at aiming, shoot at the top and back propellers of the helicopter and it will actually deal double damage. If the choppa's already kinda low on health, you could deal double the damage and save so much ammo. Trust me on it, this trick leads to a ton of free eliminations. The instant reload trick. Reloading at Fortnite has never really been that big of an issue, especially to casual players, but on the competitive side, even an extra second of reloading can spell disaster for you and your team.
And since reloading doesn't matter much, noobs will just take forever reloading every single one of their weapons after a fight is over.
Now that is a mistake that pros don't have time to make, so they use a new change that allows you to quickly drop your weapon and pick it back up to reload. Not gonna lie, it's much faster than reloading, and you can save a ton of time when moving across the map, especially if you're outrunning the storm. One thing I would say though is just make sure this actually saves you time and doesn't waste more. If you're not fast enough, it might not be worth. The fast farming trick. Veggies have been added all around the Fortnite map, and while sometimes they can feel useless, other times they can absolutely save you in a pinch. The consumption animation for veggies is less than a second, so they can be clutch in late game scrims or just when trying to outrun the storm.
Most of the time you see us noobs collecting veggies, we're breaking each and every cornfield one at a time, which ends up taking way too long. It's not exactly efficient. I mean, we probably shouldn't be harvesting the cornfields anyway, but I mean, we're noobs. What do you expect? If you're taking that much time just collecting veggies, you won't really be set up for your next encounter during the match.
Alright, check this. Here's what a pro would do to make collecting veggies a breeze. Just grab the closest choppa, fly it right through one of the cornfields. It causes all of the corn to be farmed at once, leaving more than a full stack for you to just quickly pick up and go on your way. Fun fact, you can get 100 health from corn way faster than a medkit, giving you some reliable heals for the rest of the game that you could just split up. The flare gun UAV trick. Flare guns are some of the best ways to take advantage of the new elemental fire damage that came with Season 3, but are you using them to their full potential?
Yeah, me and the other newbies usually would just shoot the flare gun at other players or builds and basically just set everything on fire around them. Watching things burn is very epic. I mean, surely that's what the flare gun is for, right?
I mean, kinda, but there's also a hidden feature on the gun that will activate if you shoot it directly into the sky. Pretty much, it's a UAV, lets you locate enemies and fight more tactically. Like I said, simple as shooting in the air and you track all of your enemies for easy eliminations. I know it's not the most secret thing in the world, but in case you didn't know now, you do know now. The launch pad trick. So I already talked about launch pads and how enemies chasing after you could be a huge problem. But if you don't have decoy grenades on you, then what?
Whenever a noob uses a launch pad, 99% of all noobs will just launch away and leave their launch pad ready for any other players to use, even the team following them.
So how do you stop that? Well, most pros will build up, place the launch pad, and right before they jump onto it, they will edit the ramp to the side so that it breaks a millisecond after they use it. You've gotta perfect the timing on this one, but think about it, that's what separates a noob from a pro, am I wrong? The easy supply drop trick. Since the dawn of time, supply drops have only ever really been so worth it in Fortnite if it was super close to the ground or you really need it. If it's still got a little way to fall, that's when you've got a lot of problems.
Noobs don't care though, because most of us will just sit there and build a box on the landing spot. I mean, why either just vibe and wait a super long time for the supply drop to land in our box, or we'll waste all of our ammo shooting it down, but that usually means others come to third party.
That's why pros don't waste time and grab a nearby choppa. Taking full advantage of the boost button, they'll ram the chopper right into a supply drop balloon and make it fall to the ground instantly. It's easily the best way to both save ammo and time when going for a drop without it damaging your chopper all that much. I think it's like 200. The rotating on water trick. If you're swimming or making your way across some water in Season 3 and you find yourself being shot at, it gets annoying quick.
When this happens, a lot of noobs will just panic build all over the water at even the first few shots. Instead of being calm, they'll just spam builds everywhere while trying to dodge bullets. This isn't really good for anyone, especially because you can't rotate now as you're all out of materials. Well done. You just played yourself.
But don't worry, I got you covered, because the next time you're in this situation, just remember to simply build a single wall and place a floor below you. Right after, rotate or edit a ramp facing the direction of your enemy. It allows you to create a makeshift bridge to rotate with while saving a ton of mats. I mean, think about it. Technically speaking, you're not doing a floor and a wall, you're only doing one ramp. You'll need those mats for the actual fight. The landing faster trick. Battle Royale, especially with Fortnite's Battle Bus, has always had ways to get from the air to the ground as fast as possible. You just have to figure out all the ways how.
Almost every noob since the dawn of time has jumped out of the battle bus and dived down wherever, not even thinking about where they glide or how they can land faster than other people. Next thing you know, everyone beat them to it and took all of the loot.
Every time a pro jumps from the battle bus, they immediately dive towards their location and find the nearest spot of water. Technically speaking, the water in any area of the map is actually the lowest possible point, so if you could skydive for longer than others, then you'll always be the first to land. And if you want to be really fancy with your drop, you could also b-hop off those umbrellas, kind of like over at Sweaty Sands. You could get a major head start. The weapon ping trick. When you're immediately landing at a POI, it's hard to tell where all the good loot is. I mean, the game is RNG, so you've got to hope you find a good spot. Or do you?
Most of us noobs usually just drop at a POI and try to spot something glowing and land on top of it, despite not even knowing what the weapon actually is. So that's not the best way to go about it.
Pros actually use a secret trick to find out where the best guns are before landing. Typically, you could only see what rarity an item is from a distance and not what the weapon actually is. So, pros will simply just ping the glowing guns while gliding in, and it lets them know what the weapon is. This gives them huge advantages early game, since they'll usually find shotguns before everybody else. Flammable objects. Flare guns aren't the only thing bringing elemental fire damage to the game, as an often overlooked item is the propane tanks and gas pumps.
These things are actually so underused because many noobs will run right past them without even having a second thought. It's quite a waste because they're super dangerous and noobs just don't realize how great they can be.
It's true, pros are the ones who are always looking for the next gas pump or propane tank to shoot or use to their advantage. In fact, they will pair the propane tanks with crash pads or just shoot it for easy kills. Not only that, but you can also stock up chug splashes too, just in case you need to put out a fire quickly. I mean, think about it, just because you're dealing the fire damage doesn't mean you don't have to watch out for it. Well anyways, click on screen right now for the best video of your entire life. We appreciate you watching. This has been Tommy and Sam. Keep it here, Top 5 Gaming.
Yeah, this Tommy from Top 5 Gaming guy seems like a pretty cool guy, huh? Who is that again?